Shanah Tovah. I know that we're all still getting a little bit settled. Just come in, don't worry, it's all good. I'm Rabbi Marcy Block, and I'm grateful to be here today with our guest cantor, Michael Trachtenberg, our cantorial soloist, Robin Kuda, who's over here, President Neil Toff, who's over here, and our TDD Generations Choir, as well as Lori Riley, who's been the director of our TDD Generations Choir, and our accompanist, Anthony Ciotti. Let's take a moment to greet one another and wish each other a Happy New Year, a Shanah Tovah. Take a moment to do that. And we also want to take a moment to greet all of those who are joining us through live stream this morning. Last night we gave them a wave. Let's give them a thumbs up this morning. So turn around and give them a thumbs up. They see those cameras up there, so give them a thumbs up. Say Shanah Tovah. Shanah Tovah to all of our friends on live stream. Thank you for joining us this morning. For those who are in person with us, your Maksorim, your High Holy Day prayer books should be on your chairs. For those joining us virtually, you should have your prayer books that you picked up either from TDD, or you can also look at the email that the temple sent you, where you will find an online Maksor. And we recommend using it on another device. And make sure to use the gold book if you are joining us online. We ask for everyone's safety this morning, and please follow our COVID protocols. Please keep your masks on over your mouth and your nose. And if for any reason you shall need an emergency exit, there is one over here, one over here, one over here, and of course where you came in today. And if you cannot stand, please don't. Health and well-being come first. So I'd like to start with a story. Every year before the Days of Awe, the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, held a competition to see who would blow the shofar for him on Rosh HaShanah. Now, if you wanted to blow the shofar for the Baal Shem Tov, not only did you have to blow the shofar like a virtuoso, but you also had to learn an elaborate system of kavanot, secret prayers that were said just before you blew the shofar to direct the shofar blasts and to see that they had the proper effect in the high heavens. All the prospective shofar blowers practiced these kavanot for months. They were difficult and complex. There was one fellow who wanted to blow the shofar for the Baal Shem Tov so badly that he had been practicing these kavanot for years. But when his time came to audition before the Baal Shem Tov, he realized that nothing he had done had prepared him adequately for the experience of standing before this great and holy man. And he choked. His mind froze completely. He couldn't remember one of the kavanot he had practiced for all these years. He couldn't even remember what he was supposed to be doing at all. He just stood there before the great rabbi in utter silence. And then, when he realized he had failed this great test, his heart just broke into two. And he began to weep, sobbing loudly, his whole body shaking as he wept. "All right, you're hired. You got the job," the Baal Shem Tov said. "But I don't understand," the man said. "I failed the test. I failed it completely. I couldn't even remember the kavanah." So the Baal Shem Tov explained with the following teaching. In the place of the Eternal One, there are many secret chambers, but one key unlocks them all. The Eternal is the ruler of the universe. The Baal Shem Tov explained, the palace is the house of God. The key that opens every chamber and brings us directly into the presence of the Holy One, where each of us may be, is the broken heart. For as it says in Psalms, God is close to the brokenhearted. All of us come here today feeling a little broken and brokenhearted. Even if we are not totally aware of how and why we hurt, we have all been through so much since this past year. However you enter this sacred space today, whatever you might feel, it's all okay. I will share personally during some of our rehearsals, I just cried. And that's okay, because you know what? We haven't been together in over a year and a half. We haven't seen each other, we haven't hugged, we haven't held. Whatever you come to, whatever way you enter this morning, it's okay. We come together now grateful for the opportunity to see each other and sing God's praise, and grateful for life itself. We begin our service this morning as we recite the Birkat HaGomel, the blessing thanking God that we have survived. Even though the pandemic is not over and so many are still in danger, we still acknowledge that we are living through perilous times. Because all of our lives have been threatened, I ask that you rise at this time so that I can offer us this prayer. Blessed are you, O God, who see the goodness in each of us. Blessed are you who protects us from harm. Blessed be the hands of the healers. Blessed be the hugs of the community. Blessed are you for giving us the strength to face the challenges in our lives. Blessed are you for giving us people to go on this journey with us. We say Amen, and I ask you to remain standing if you are able, while Robin sings the Birkat HaGomel on page 233 if you'd like to follow along.
Yes, and please join me in the middle for the Selah, most beautiful. Love to hear all of our voices. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Shigam lanu kol tov. Amen. Selah, Selah, b'shigmalchem kol tov. Selah, Selah, b'shigmalchem kol tov. You carry me forward, fill me with courage, sheltered me through the storm. Wrapped in your blessing, a love so embracing, once broken, I am now whole. Selah, Selah, mishigmalchem kol tov. Selah, Selah, mishigmalchem kol tov.
Please be seated. We continue our service on page 110 as the choir leads us in Ma Tovu.
Vani berov chastecha, avo veitecha, eshtachah
Do you remember PE when you were little? Or gym, as we called it in Michigan? Do you remember learning the first time to take your pulse? We learned 3 ways to do that: your neck, your wrist, your heart. All 3 ways remind us that we are alive. Jewish tradition teaches us in the morning blessings that each of us are here. We thank God for our bodies, and then we thank God for our souls, which God breathed into us. I know for this past year and a half, I've never been so thankful for my breath. So do me a favor for a moment and just let's pretend we're in 3rd grade for a second. And put your hand, find your pulse, whichever way you want to find it, the wrist, the neck, your heart. I want you just to listen to it for a moment. See if you can feel it. And let's hold it there as we sing Elohai Neshama, which happens to be on page 122. But don't worry, keep holding it. I'm going to keep holding my heart so I can feel it. As we sing this beautiful Elohai Neshama, thanking God for our breath and that we are here.
Elohai Neshama, Shanah bi, Shanah bi, Elohai Neshama, Shanah bi, Shanah bi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi. You created me, you shaped me, you breathed me into life. You created me, you made me, you breathed me into life. Elohai Neshama, Shanah bi, Elohai Neshama, Shanah bi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi. You created me, you shaped me, you breathed me into life. You created me, you made me, you breathed me into life. Elohai Neshama, Shanah bi, Elohai Neshama, Shanah bi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi.
We continue on page 142 as we rise for Baruch Hu. Please be seated. We continue on 142 as we read together. Again, 142. Source of blessings, our eternal God, your power fills the cosmos, shaping light, creating darkness, making peace, and fashioning all things. Infinite light is preserved in life's treasure house. Lights from the darkness, said God. It was so. In love, you bring light to the earth and its creatures. Your goodness renews the creation each day. Infinite, varied, and rich are your works, divine artist. All of them are wrought with wisdom. The whole earth is teeming with life. Awestruck by the universe work of your hands, let all life bless you, praise you, and celebrate the beauty of your lights. May you shine a new light on Zion, and may we soon be privileged to share in that light. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer Hamorot. We continue on page 150 as we rise for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Please be seated. We continue with our prayer of love, the Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinata hamlevanecha v'dibarta baham v'shiftecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derek uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uktaptam al mizuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiyot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
We continue page 163 in the middle of the page. The voice that redeems us comes from within. Said Rabbi Eliezer Hamodai, consider the courage of Israel. When Moses said to the people in Egypt, arise and go forth, they did not ask, how can we go into the wilderness with no sustenance for the way? They had faith and went forward. The voice that lifts up the lowly, upholds the exhausted, and tells us to put one foot in front of the other. Sometimes it comes from within. We continue Micha Mocha, page 164.
Shibgulim Lishimcha Tzvat Hayam Yachar Kulam Hodu V'Himlichu V'Yameru V'Yameru
A man is struck by a bus on a busy street in New York City. He lies dying on the sidewalk as a crowd of spectators gathered around. "A priest! Somebody get me a priest!" the man gasps. A policeman checks the crowd. No priest, no minister, no person of God of any kind. "A priest, please," the dying man says again. Then out of the crowd steps a little old Jewish man of at least 80 years of age. "Mr. Policeman," says the man, "I'm not a priest. I'm not even a Catholic. But for 50 years now, I'm living behind St. Elizabeth's Catholic Church on First Avenue. And every night I'm listening to the Catholic litany. Maybe I can be of some comfort to this man." The policeman agreed and brought the octogenarian over to where the dying man lay. He kneels down, leans over the injured, and says in a solemn voice, "B4, I-19, N38, G54, O72. Comforting prayers come in all different forms. Jewish tradition teaches us to pray in words we understand. Our prayer book provides us both traditional and interpretive versions of the tefillah. Let us direct our hearts toward God as we rise, and let us remember the High Holy Day editions. We continue page 166.
Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot ve'Imahot, U'Mehevi Giul לפני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. Abraham v'Yezra Hatzara.
Page 170. Atagi Bor Leolam Adonai Mechaye Hakol Atav Rav LaHoshia. Your life-giving powers is forever, Adonai. With us in life and in death, you liberate and save, cause dew to descend, and with mercy abundant, lovingly nurture all life. From life to death, you are the force that flows without end. You support the falling, heal the sick, free the imprisoned and confined. You are faithful even to those who rest in the dust. Power beyond power, from whom salvation springs, sovereign over life and death, who is like you. Merciful God, who compares with you. With tender compassion, you remember all creatures for life. Faithful and true, worthy of our trust. You sustain our immortal yearnings. In you we place our undying hopes. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye Hakol. Wellspring of blessing, power eternal. You are the one who gives and renews all life. Please be seated. We continue on page 174. This is the Unatana Tokef, which is the heart of the High Holy Day liturgy. And this liturgy is simple. It reminds us to savor the fragile gift of life that we're given. It reminds us to live fully, a life filled with meaning. Page 174, and so let these words of sanctity ascend to you, for you are our God and sovereign. Proclaim the power of this day, a day whose holiness awakens deepest awe and inspires highest praise for your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love, your reign is a reign of truth. In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal, you record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten, and when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. And so a great shofar will cry, Tekiah. A still small voice will be heard. Angels in a whirl of fear and trembling will say, Behold, the day of judgment. For they too are judged. In your eyes, even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you like sheep before their shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock when it passes beneath the staff. You count and consider every life. You set bounds. You decide destiny. You inscribe judgments. 178 in the middle of the page. On Rosh HaShanah, this is written. On the fast of Yom Kippur, this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who exalted? But through return to this right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the degree.
Ma'avirin et roho hagezerah.
We rise on page 184 for the Kedusha and face east towards Yerushalayim.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר, Mahadir Shimcha b'chol haaretz. Echad hu Eloheinu hu Avinu hu Malkeinu hu Moshienu v'hu Yashmienu v'rachamav leinei kol chai. Ani Adonai Kadosh, 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 Elohai Tzion Ledor Adon. Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah.
We continue as we are seated. And let's take just a moment for some silent prayer, offering the prayers of your hearts, or you may read on page 219. this time, we rise for Avinu Malkeinu on page 234 as we invite Amy and Ethan Lyons to open the ark doors. The divine that is present within and among us. Avinu Malkeinu, we stand in awe, we draw close in love. Avinu Malkeinu, the power that passes through us and pervades all things. Avinu Malkeinu, the divine that is present within and among us. We continue on page 233 as Cantor sings Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol aleinu. Ve'alol aleinu v'tafeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, kalei tever v'cherev ela'av me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, kalei chotzar umaztin me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, kotveinu b'sefer chaim tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, chodesh aleinu, chodesh aleinu, Shanah Tovah. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh aleinu, Shanah Tovah. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu.
Together we join 223. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our families. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived. Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love. We continue with Avinu Malkeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Eloheinu vaneinu, ki ein banu masim. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, v'hoshieinu.
We remain standing and continue on page 227 with Seder Kriyat HaTorah.
Needed a minute. Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, v'ein kemahasecha. Malchutecha, malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha bechol dor v'hador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. Adonai ozlea moyitein. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Adonai, Adonai, el rachum v'chanun, erech apayim v'rav chesed ve'emet, notzer chesed la'alafim, nose avon v'fesha, v'chata v'nakeh.
At this time, we call upon Marty Rothbard to take out the Torah from the ark.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adoneinu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadlul Adonai iti, Unero mema shemo yaktov. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, olam omed. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, haolam omed.
Seated. We're going to call upon our cantorial soloist, Robin Kuda, to be our gabbai this morning. And little short Devar Torah. This morning's Torah portion is the Akedah, Genesis 22. And this is a strange tale about fear and faith, fear and defiance, fear and laughter. Terrifying in its content, it has become a source of consolation to those who, in retelling it, make it part of their own experience. Here is a story that contained Jewish destiny in its totality, just as the flame is contained in the single spark by which it comes to life. Every major theme, Every passion and obsession that makes Judaism the adventure that it is can be traced back to this Torah portion. Man's anguish when he finds himself face to face with God, his quest for purity and purpose, the conflict of having to choose between dreams of the past and dreams of the future, between absolute faith and absolute justice, between the need to obey God's will and to rebel against it, between his yearnings for freedom and for sacrifice, his desire to justify hope and despair with words and silence, the same words and the same silence. It is all there. We continue as we call upon for our first Aliyah. We follow on page 240 of our Maksorim, chapter 22 of Genesis, reading verse 1 through 3. We invite for the Torah blessings Faye Cutler, Jamie Mafdeli, also representing Sheila Waldenberg and Judy Fry, who are with us virtually, to represent the Temple Dor Dorim staff. We also invite to the Bima our Torah reader, Hunter Cutler. Ta'amdu Fegaguta Bat Chaim Yisrael Umichal V'Yamit Bat David V'Leah Rishon.
Baruch hu et Adonai Amborach. Baruch Adonai Amborach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Vayehi ahar hadivarim ha'elech v'ha Elohim nisam et Avraham vayomer Elah Avraham vayomer hineni vayomer kachna et bincha et inkincha asher ahavta et inchach v'lech lecha el eretz chamoriach v'cha'alehu sham le'olach al ahad techarim asher omar lecha vayashkem Avraham baboker vayashkem et chamaro vayikach et shnei ne'arav ito ve'et Yitzchak beno, vayika yitzei olah, vayakam vayelech el hamakom asher amar lo ha'Elohim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
For the second Aliyah, we continue in our Maksorim with verses 4 through 8. We invite forth to the Bima Jackie Gilman, also representing Ronnie Morrison, who's joining us virtually. And we'd like to invite all those who've served on TDD Cares to stand at their seats so that we can acknowledge you for your dedication and commitment. We also realize that some of you may be home, and we send our love to you if you're joining us virtually. We also invite to the Bima our Torah reader, Jacob Lyons. Ta'amod Leah bat Betzalel v'Chana Sheni.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'tan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Bayom hashlishi vayisa Avraham et einav vayared hamakom meracho vayomer Avraham el ne'arav shevu lachem po imcha hamor va'ani vehana'ar nilcha adko v'nishtachaveh v'nashuva alechem vayikach Avraham et atzei ha'olah vayasem al Yitzchak beno vayikach be'ado et ha'esh ve'et hama'achelet vayelchu shnehem yachda vayomer Yitzchak el Avraham aviv vayomer avi vayomer hineni veni vayomer hine ha'esh ve'ha'etzim ve'aye haseh leolah vayomer Avraham Elohim yir et lo haseh leolah beni vayelchu shnehem yachdav.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chaye olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
For the third Aliyah, we continue in our Maksarim with verses 9 through 11. We invite forth to the Bima Lena and Bree Berkowitz, representing those who became B'nai Mitzvah this past year at Temple Dor Dorim. If you did become Sure, Emery, come on up too. At this time, we would like to invite all those who became B'nai Mitzvah this past year to rise at your seats. We realize that some of you may be with us virtually as well, so we send love to your homes. We also invite to the Bima Torah reader, Robin Kuda, our cantorial soloist. Ta'amod Simcha Bat Rival. Simcha Bat Rival, V'chana Sarah Bat Rival, Shlishi.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayavo el hamakom asher amar lo ha'Elohim vayiven sham Avraham et hamizbeach vaya'aroch et ha'etzim vaya'akod et Yitzchak beno vayasem oto al hamizbeach Mima'al ha'etzim vayishlach Avraham et yado vayikach et hama'achelet lishchot et beno vayikra elav malach Adonai min hashamayim Vayomer Avraham, Vayomer Hineni.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chaye olam natan b'torheinu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah. Amen. Thank you.
We continue at this time as we think of all of our loved ones who are in need of healing of body, mind, and soul. If you have loved ones who are in need of healing, we ask you to just hold their names in your heart. And we also think of all of those who've been impacted by the coronavirus. We pray for healing for all of our family and friends who may have been exposed. Baruch atah Adonai makor hachayim, blessed are you Adonai, source of life. We continue with the singing of the Mishaberach. You can follow along on page 245. We rise for the lifting and dressing of the Torah, page 246, as we invite Peter Shapiro and Shelley Gray. Ya'amdu hamagbiya v'golelet.
Lai lai
At this time, we're going to continue with the shofar service. And we're going to ask at this time that Marty Kotler and Henry Gilman get close to those doors over there. So our tradition tells us that the blessing is to not see the shofar sounding, but to hear it. Actually, that's what it says, lishmoa. You're going to hear it, don't worry. We're just going to sound it outside so that we all stay safe. And don't worry, Marty and Henry, we're going to let you know when you're going to face outside. But in the meantime, stay in the cool air conditioning. And we're going to continue our service on page 205. 205. Actually, we're going to go right to 206, and we are going to rise for the blessing of the shofar.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechiyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Tekiah.
Outside.
Shavarim teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shivarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. Areshet zefateinu yerav lefanecha el ram v'nisa. Areshet zefateinu yerav lefanecha el ram v'nisa. Mevinu mazin mabit u'mashim lekol tekiyateinu. uratzon seder malchuyoteinu.
We continue page 267 in the middle of the page. If you're standing, you may be seated. Don't worry, we'll get up in another moment. God of remembrance, remember the covenant of our ancestors. We reaffirm it today. Remember, we are a people of noble ideals. Help us attain them. Remember all your people, all the nations on the road to peace. Bless their efforts. Remember with mercy the binding of Isaac, the sorrow of Sarah. Abraham's words, "Here I am, Baruch atah Adonai, Zocher Habrit." We continue on page 268 as we rise again.
Tekiah, Shvarim Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah, Areshet Zefateinu Yerav Lefanecha Elam Venisa Areshet Zefateinu Yerav Lefanecha Elam Venisa Mevinu Mazin Mabit Umakshir Lekol Tkiyateinu Utkavel berachamim, berachamim uvratzon, seder zichronoteinu.
We continue on page 283. 283. Let's read this together. I know that poverty must cease. I know this through the brokenness and conflict in my heart. I know that protest is my prophetic act and that the world is longing for a new soul, a new healing moment. I know that when we awaken to our origins and become truly human, we bring hope to the children and to the earth. I feel called today to bring the people together, to break the bread and tell the story. I feel called today to be a mystic in action, aligned to the dynamics of the universe. I feel called today to give my gift, to listen to the heartbeat of the broken world, to heal the fragmentation of people and planet. I feel called today to celebrate the wonder of creation and respond to sacredness and the challenges of life. I feel called today to participate in the work of my time, to fall in love, to feel at home. I feel called today to be inflamed with enduring hope, to be at one with the universe, to be touched by God. I feel called today to compose a new paragraph for life. We continue on 284, Baruch atah Adonai, shomea kol truah amo Yisrael barachamim. We rise once again for the call for the shofar.
Tekiah, Shvarim Teruah, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah Gedolah.
Please be seated.
הרשת שפתנו ערב לפניך, אל רב ונישא. הרשת שפתנו ערב לפניך, אל רב ונישא. מבין ומתאים מביט ומקשיב לכל תקיעתנו, ותקבל ברחמים, ברחמים וברצון, סדר שופרותינו.
At this time, we invite Harold Malin up for a special prayer for our congregation, Israel, and our country. Please rise once again if you're able.
Avinu Malkeinu, our parent, our sovereign, bless this holy congregation and all who serve it, together with holy congregations in all lands near and far. Uphold us, shield us, and bestow upon us abundant life and health and happiness in all our dwelling places. We pray also for all who hold positions of leadership and responsibility in our national life. Make them responsive to your will so that our nation may be to the world an example of justice and compassion. We are not only thankful for this community and our country, but we always pray for the land of Israel and its people. May its borders know peace and its inhabitants tranquility. And let us say amen.
Amen.
Amen. We're going to ask you to stay standing if you're able, page 276, as we call upon Chuck Ice and Jason Epstein to return the Torah to the Ark. Yehalelu et Shem Adonai ki nisgav shemo levado. Let us praise God's name, for God's name alone is exalted.
Okay. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'narshuva Kadesh Yameinu Yameinu kekedem Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'narshuva Kadesh Yameinu Yameinu kekedem.
Please be seated. Shanah Tovah. I will never forget the first time I proudly brought my family to see our beautiful synagogue. My husband and 2 daughters were so excited to see where I would be the rabbi. Before we reached the sanctuary, my 5-year-old stopped in front of a prominent photograph not far from the atrium. You know this photo, I'm sure. It depicts a group of men, women, children gathered together near a large mound of earth. My daughter was transfixed. "Mommy, what is this? Are they building a big, big sandcastle?" "Actually, something better," I said. "It is a picture of the people who started this congregation. They were getting ready to build this building." "Why did they need a synagogue?" she asked. I said, "Because Jewish people need a place to gather, pray, learn, and grow." "Mommy, that must have been so hard to start a temple. Why do you think they did that?" Just as I was about to answer her, someone called my name to introduce themselves to us. Of course, the photo on the wall that my family had been admiring was of Temple Dor Dorim's groundbreaking, a proud moment in this congregation's sacred history. Rosh HaShanah, it turns out, is a holy day with many names. One name is Yom HaZikaron, the day when we ask God to remember us. This is also a time when we look back and remember not just the events and experiences of last year. We try to recall and learn from all that has led to this moment so that we can go forward stronger. Our identities, we know, are more than our individual personal journeys. Our lives are the paths that we walk together as families, as communities, and as a Jewish people. Over the past year, I've had the chance to hear about the founding of this Jewish community. Dor Dorim was born when a small group of families gathered to discuss a dream of establishing a Reformed temple in Weston. They believed that this area had incredible potential and that a new Reformed temple would thrive here. They were right. Within a year, over 100 families joined the dream, and from there, Dor Dorim continued to grow. In time, plans were made and a dedication organized to break ground for a permanent home. A second phase was built, which included the atrium, where members wrote their hopes, dreams, and prayers on the drywall. Some of you have shown me exactly where your prayers are. What a powerful expression of love, devotion, and connection to this sacred community. How very grateful we all are to our congregation's founders and first members, whose dedication shed so much light into the lives of so many. I learned that the name Temple Dor Dorim was thoughtfully conceived. Dor Dorim, as we know, means throughout the generations. It is an apt description of who we are at our best. As Rabbi Don Rossoff notes, the idea of generations continuing one after another is not only about generations following each other in chronological order. Dor Dorim is about generations coming together, the oldest and the newest standing side by side in the presence of each other. Dor Dorim is about time folding over on itself, collapsing past, present, and future into a single eternal moment. What a beautiful expression of what continues to be our sacred reality. At Dor Dorim, from its inception to this day, our sacred purpose is to connect generations from the past and all those yet to be into one holy moment. Just like we did at Sinai, as we will read next week in the Yom Kippur Torah portion. Atem nitzavim kolchem, you are standing here this day, all of you, those who are here, those who are not here, which transform that one time into an eternal moment. During the short time that I've been privileged to serve as the spiritual leader of Temple Dor Dorim, I have seen how you live by your name and how this community really is one that is vibrant throughout the generations. For example, I have loved how on our Shabbat Zooms, from across the screen, a little 5-year-old says, Shabbat Shalom to his grandbubby, his great-grandmother. And then grandbubby wishes her granddaughter and her daughter and great-grandson a Shabbat Shalom. 4 generations right there on the screen. And how we have children singing in the generations choir, often with their mom or dad. Or when I call one family and they tell me that they're related to 3 other families, or 5. Or how I witnessed such a long chain of generations that we literally had to spread out across the floor right here. Great-grandparents, grandparents, parents, siblings in front of the bima to pass down the Torah throughout the generations to the B'nai Mitzvah child. Or how one of our members from the storefront days told me how he loved to sound the shofar on the High Holy Days with his grandchildren on the bima from the time they were little. But the concept of Dor Dorim is not just about biological families. It's about every Jew, young or old, single or married, with or without children, born a Jew or a Jew by choice. We are all connected to the chain of generations of Jewish people. And this congregation also beautifully demonstrates this figurative meaning of Dor Dorim by embracing Judaism, embodying Jewish values, and being lovers of Israel and this community. In the last year, I have seen how people check in on each other. Did you know that a member from the Empty Nesters is assigned to check in on me, the rabbi? Seriously, every month, get a call from a very sweet lady. And when we were preparing last year for the High Holy Days, fresh homemade desserts would be left for us in the back of the sanctuary. When our community was on lockdown, our TDD Cares team was created, and members of our TDD Cares walked door to door and hand-delivered surprise gifts to our religious school students and our empty nesters. And our TDD Cares team will be at it again. You might be the next one to receive a surprise gift. Our congregation came together to take care of a teenager who lost both of his parents. TDD ensured that he had a bar mitzvah ceremony and will be part of this family for years to come. He will be volunteering in our religious school this year and able to influence another generation of children. And a kind woman calls weekly to make sure that the perfect little bags of treats are packed for our Shabbat onegs to go. And when we learn together, it's amazing to see how our members grapple with text and contemporary Jewish topics. People share their perspectives passionately, but everyone remains respectful and provides space for those with differing opinions, just as we Jews have been doing for all of our history. As we have prayed together this past year, we've held up our hopes and dreams and shared our love across the Zoom screen. We have spiritually held each other in this difficult and uncertain time. We've reminded ourselves that prayer matters. It counts. And it has connected us, all our generations, our entire synagogue family. This is not simply a community where people attend services. This is a Kahila Kadosha, a holy community that is cherished. This is family. This is home. So many of you have walked me down the hall and showed me the pictures of your children and your grandchildren in their confirmation classes, or told me about the baby namings or weddings that happened right here. This is a community of generations, a community that is interwoven by relationships, a community whose people care deeply for one another. I feel so blessed to have become part of this community, and I'm so excited about the future we can build together. The question is, how do we want to go forward, Dor Dorim? Rosh HaShanah is not just an opportunity to look back, but an opportunity to reimagine the future. What do you imagine for this community? What would you like this synagogue to do or be? I hope you will take time over these high holy days and send us your TDD dreams. Let us know them. Let us know what you envision. I want to hear from you. And I promise you, we will be reaching out to you. And now let me take a moment to share my dreams. In December 2019, when I interviewed here, one of the members of the search committee asked, "Why Dor Dorim? What do you like about us?" My answer was, it seems like a synagogue that is alive. It has stellar programming, engaging learning, young families and seniors and people of every age, a community that cares about each other and Israel. I saw so much opportunity. I saw the creativity of our parents of young children and sat with our empty nesters who greeted me with nothing but kindness and said goodbye to me with the most loving hugs. Over the last year, I have met most of you only through screens, drive-ins, drive-bys, and mostly with masks on. I jokingly and affectionately say to many congregants that last year was my warm-up year, or we can call this my year 1B. And although I don't know this congregation yet in full action, I am so excited about who we are and even more about who we can be. After this 1 year, even through Zoom, I've learned that this is a place where our children fall in love with their Judaism each day and leave here singing Jewish melodies all the way home. I know that TDD is a place where people can see the beauty and wonder of Judaism, and that it is a community that helps people live more meaningfully. I pray that we continue to help people know that Judaism is relevant to everything we do, and that if embraced, it can help elevate our lives. I dream that we carry on the vision of the grandparents who started this place, that we continue to create a place to connect people to the past and future, that we carry on what they cared about. I imagine that we will continue to be the welcoming community that we already are, that we continue to be there for one another and help each other. We have learned throughout this pandemic, as poet and Jewish thinker Noah Ben Shea puts it, we need each other, not because we think we do, but because we do. May we continue to learn and grow together, because when we are learning together, that means we are alive. And when people from outside these synagogue walls look at us, they will say, that congregation is a community of learners, and they have so much going on. Most of all, on this Rosh HaShanah, when we celebrate the creation of the world and human potential, I pray that we know that there is so much possible for us Dor Dorim. Today we stand on the shoulders of the generations who came before us, and we bring them with us into this moment. But we need you. We need you. We need all of you. We need your creativity. We need your skills. We need your talent. We need you. We need you. We need your dedication. We need your hearts. We need you. What part will you have in this eternal moment? What part will you play in this chain of generations? Before I close, let me share with you how I answered my 5-year-old daughter when she asked me again about TDD's groundbreaking picture. I told her, my heart tells me the people built the synagogue because they had a dream that they were building it for you and children like you, and your children and their children and their children. Dor Dorim, throughout the generations, and now it's our turn to dream and build together. Shanah Tovah u'mituka. May it be a sweet, inspiring, creative, and engaging year for us all.
As we sing this song, please join us in the chorus. It's for us all. We are gifts and we are blessings. We are history in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. Ledor vador nagid God lecha. Ledor vador we protect this chain. From generation to generation, Ledor vador, these lips will praise your name. Looking back on the journey that we carry in our heart, from the shadow of the mountain to the waters that will part. We are blessed and we are holy. We are children of our way. And the words that bring us meaning. We will have the strength to say, V'dor v'dor nagid God lecha. V'dor v'dor we protect this chain. From generation to generation, V'dor v'dor, these lips will praise your name. V'dor v'dor, nagid God lecha. V'dor v'dor, we protect this chain. From generation to generation, V'dor v'dor, these lips will praise your name.
It's okay if you need to give someone a hug. It's all good. It's great. That song just reminds us of this beautiful congregation. A plane crashes and a couple gets stranded on a lifeboat. Let's try that again. A plane crashes and a couple gets stranded on a lifeboat. A couple days, they defeatedly figure that they are doomed. The husband then asks his wife, Muriel, did we send in our check from our pledge at the Federation Gala? Muriel starts to cry and says, oh, Murray, I got so busy. I figured I'd do it after the trip. I never sent it in. I'm so embarrassed. Murray scratches his head and says, but you did renew our synagogue membership for this year, right? Muriel cries harder and says, Murray, I completely forgot. What must the rabbi think of us? I'm so ashamed. Murray then looks at his wife and asks, but Muriel, tell me that you did send in our High Holy Day appeal donation. Muriel starts sobbing uncontrollably and says, I never did that either. I'm truly mortified. Murray jumps up and shouts, we're saved! You know they're going to look for us. We will be looking for you. But I'll let Neil Toff tell you about that.
What an intro. Make sure this one works. Can you hear me okay? Good. Good morning. Happy 5782 Temple Dor Dorim. It's really wonderful to be back here. So here we are. The last time I had the privilege to stand before you, 1 year ago, Rosh HaShanah. And what a year. What a fiscal year. What a calendar year. What a Hebrew year. Before I jump into the appeal, I want to first thank our staff for their creative, diligent, and at times backbreaking work that they performed this year charting the course for us. Thank you so much, Sheila, Jamie, Faye, Judy, Jill, Fran, and Oscar. Thank you, Rabbi Block, for keeping us together, for coming up with the ways to do services differently, and to build our connection with our Judaism, with you, and with each other. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Cantor Trachtenberg. Thank you, choir, for your beautiful music and song. Thank you, Rabbi Lipson, for always being here, being such an important part of our history. Thank you to our Board of Trustees and Exec Board for your volunteer time, your experience, and your love for our temple community. In prepping for this year's High Holidays, Rabbi Block and I got our heads together and we thought, what are the highlights? What was most special about this year? And she went through some of those in her words just a few moments ago. I'm going to share my list. I put them into 5 buckets. For me, the first one, the confirmation service that I was able to be a part of and witness several months ago that included 2 classes joined together because the previous one had been postponed due to COVID. I didn't have a child in either class, but watching how proud our parents were of their kids' prayers, speeches, singing in celebration of their Judaism among the most challenging times reminded me of why this temple is so important to our members. Second bucket, Musar class, connections, Rabbi Lipson's Torah study classes, all of our speakers, but for me especially Barry Weiss and Jacqueline Saper. Attending my first Empty Nester event. If you haven't done so, if you're not a member of the Empty Nesters, attend. It's the most vibrant, active group in our congregation, and what a model. The Brotherhood Roast, and depending on who you ask, it was kind of a funny comedy night. The creation and operation, this is the third one, the creation and operation in the last year of the TDD Cares community that Rabbi Block already referred to. It anonymously helps Temple families in need of assistance. I don't have access to whom it helps, but I've read anonymous testimonials, and let me assure you, it really helps people in the moment that seems just right. The fourth one, the recent end of summer return of some of our kids from camp and travel to Israel. Listening to a child as young as 8 years old tell her story about how happy she was to experience Jewish camp, and then hearing different teenage versions of the same camp, some of the same stories, some of the same songs, was truly heartwarming. Hearing the story of one teen who went to Israel because she was inspired by a video trip to Israel organized earlier this year by our Israel Solidarity Committee is so important to see that the work done by one generation actually impacts another. Watching the group of kids, Jacob was included, come up at the end of the service and sing a concluding song on the Bema steps right behind me in Hebrew made all that work truly worth it. Fifth one. One of the requirements that we must do as Temple board members is to participate in the Bar and Bat Mitzvah services and offer some gifts at the conclusion of the service to the child. You think that what Marty and Henry Gilman just did out there blowing the shofar in that heat was difficult? Try getting a Temple board member to carve out time on a Saturday morning to come to preside over a service. That's a challenge. But those of us that have done it, I would venture to say, are incredibly proud of the experience, what we get to witness, the hard work of our clergy, the fruits of all the hours that our tutors put in, and the joy, relief, of seeing the faces of the families and the kids that just completed their service. Each of these that I've attended have been a personal highlight because of the unique way the families have adjusted to COVID and tailored the service along with Rabbi Block to make sure it's a happy and proud expression of Judaism. I'm going to do something that, at least in my experience here at Temple Dor Dorim, is unprecedented. I've never seen it before. I'm actually going to ask someone to come up and join me for just a minute. This person is someone whose bar mitzvah several board members and I were able to be a part of, and who has graciously offered to share a few words why the temple has been so important to him this year. Some of you may immediately recognize this guy. If you don't, it's okay. He's grown up now. He's handsome. He's a charmer. He's smart. He's witty. He's a really cool kid. He's got a special place in his heart for Dor Dorim. David, where are you? There he is. Okay. David, welcome.
Hello, Shanah Tovah. Temple Dor Dorim has been a huge part of my life for as long as I can remember. From playing with the fake food in the preschool kitchen, to attending services with my dad, to making burgers at the TDD barbecues, TDD has been very important to me. The most support I've felt has come over the past year, not only while my dad was sick and after he passed away, but also as I prepared for my bar mitzvah. So many members of the community reached out to me and my family to help me prepare for the day and continue to build my Jewish faith. I am so grateful to the TDD community, and I look forward to being a member for as long as I can. Thank you, Shanah Tovah.
David, thank you. The thoughts that David shared with us are exactly consistent with the feedback I received from so many of us, especially over the last 6 months. This is who we are at Dor Dorim. When it matters, we circle the wagons a bit, we come together, we help each other out, we're there for each other. Shared history, shared stories, relationships built over the years of membership bind us together. Having a place to come together and celebrate our Judaism in Weston binds us together. The love of our temple includes, but also extends far beyond the where, the capital W, the where. The building or physical space we worship and congregate, the where. It includes cherished memories. It includes the friendships we've made with each other, the ways we worship, the way we teach our children and grandchildren, the what, the how, and why of being Jewish. The decision was made for Temple Dor Dorim to remain in Weston and to remain Temple Dor Dorim. With that come considerable thought around how best to reimagine ourselves and how to figure out how to sustain our operations. But we have a gift, and the gift right now in our hands is the opportunity to participate in crafting the reimagined course of action. So many have already reached out to me and to Rabbi Block to find out how to be part of this, and we're incredibly grateful for that spirit. We need that. Numbers, more of us, are needed to do the work. The planning of what the fortified foundation should have, what the building blocks should be, what the cement that binds those blocks should be made out of, what the interiors look like, what the exteriors look like. Please, if you want to lend a non-financial hand, here's the opportunity. As Rabbi Block indicated, we actually did create an email address for us. It's tdddreams@templedordorim.org. tdddreams@templedordorim.org. Lending a financial hand is also, and it always will be part of being a synagogue member in Reform Judaism. Temple Dor Dorim, as well as most synagogues in the country, have an ability to operate that relies on participation from its members, and this year certainly is no different. We don't anticipate any more PPP loans to come like manna from heaven like last year. We depend on our support to help us reinvest back into fixing our building and creating the best programming and member experience that we possibly can. Now, the appeal. As you've heard, guess what? We have one. This year it's called Kesher, or Connection. We announced it about a week ago. The objective of Kesher, like last year, is ambitious. Last year, we set out to raise and exceeded our goal of $72,000 by the time Hanukkah concluded. This year, we decided to go just a bit higher. We set an aggressive goal of $100,000 with the same time frame, raising $100,000 by the conclusion of Hanukkah. And if we need to extend it, we'll extend it a little bit. But now you know the objective, Kesher, connection. I'm already really encouraged by what I saw. Within the first week, with relatively little fanfare and promotion, we already started to see donations come in, and we'll be sharing the progress with you, just as we did last year. Hopefully that's a motivation to come to Shabbat where you'll hear about it first. If you have given thank you. If you have not given yet, please consider. Lean in to Kesher to the best of your ability. I've personally contributed to it. I've committed to what for me is also a stretch of enhanced membership again this year. There are pledge cards that I believe are out in the atrium, and this is your moment we've all been waiting for. You get to turn on your phone. You can turn it on, and if you're motivated to do so, there's a website, dordorim.org/appeal, and you can participate that way. Thank you to those that have contributed. Thank you to those that will contribute today and hopefully again before the appeal concludes. David Granger, thank you. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for sharing your love for TDD. Temple members, we have an opportunity in our hands, and we have to take advantage of it. If we don't, who will? Apathy is easy. Apathy will easily undo what the pioneers and founding fathers of Temple Dor Dorim built, and so many people before us have worked so hard to maintain. In contrast, your participation, your engagement, your involvement, your continued love is what continues to sustain our community. We depend on each other to ensure our future to become sustainable. Thank you to each of you for your membership. Thank you for your love of our synagogue. May you and your families have a healthy and joyous New Year. Shanah Tovah.
Thank you, Neil. We rise now for Aleinu, page 286. And hold on, we call upon for Aleinu. We have honors. I know we have honors. Lalana Tokayer, and Lenore Rosa, please come up and open the ark doors. Thank you.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו Shanah Tovah.
Be seated. At this time, I'd like to call up Melissa Azalai, our member of Board of Trustees, for announcements and greetings.
Shanah Tovah. We want to wish everyone a happy and healthy New Year. We are so glad that you're with us to begin these high holy days. I want to thank Rabbi Block, Cantor Trachtenberg, and cantorial soloist Robin Kuda for leading us in our services and making this a very meaningful Rosh HaShanah in yet another unusual year. Also thank you to our technology crew Ed Horowitz, Sam Sangre, Shauna Brody, and Jamie Mafdali. We would also like to thank Rabbi Block, Kentaro Solis, Robin Kuda, Jamie Mafdali, Director of Youth Engagement, Learning and Programs, and Sheila Waldenberg, our ECC Director, who have participated in our children's services that have happened earlier and will continue later today. Thank you to Faye Kotler, Clergy Administrative Assistant, for all the organization and coordination of our High Holy Days. And also thank you to Oscar for his assistance for preparing the building for these special days. Thank you to Abby Shepard-Smith, Ritual Chair, for her dedication and help preparing these High Holy Days. Thank you to MGM Security and BSO for always taking care of our community. Thank you to all the participants, readers, shofar sounders, and volunteers who have helped with our services and programs this High Holy Days. Thank you to Yolari Riley for her coordination for all the choir components for our services. Thank you to all our choir members for the beautiful music and for all the time and energy that you have put into our service this year. Thanks to Anthony Ciatti for accompanying our choir. We will be collecting food donations for a local kosher food bank again this year. For those in person, please take a Publix grocery bag or two that we ask you to bring back filled on Yom Kippur. Thank you for your support. Our donations to the cupboard will be appreciated. We hope you will join us for family services for grades 3 through 6, which will be online only at 1:30 p.m. If you need the link for this service, please contact Faye Kotler at fkotler@templedordorim.org. We hope you will join us Friday for our Shabbat Shuvah service, so it will begin at 6:30 p.m. This service is virtual only, and the link will be sent out to our congregation in our weekly email. If you have not done so, please go to dordorim.org/HHD5782 to register for our Yom Kippur services and program. And finally, for the sake of everyone's safety, we ask that you do not congregate in the sanctuary and to please exit directly after the service. Please take time to greet one another outside. Shanah Tovah.
Thank you, Melissa. We continue on page 291. Our thoughts turn to loved ones whom death has taken from us in recent days, and those who died at season in years past. Our hearts open as well to the wider circles of loss in our community, and wherever grief touches the human family. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing in this new year and always. We think of Bob Baker, Rabbi Richard Hirsch, Phyllis Maislish, Robert Groh Jr., Carrie Chayat, and Simon Sapler Sternberg in the month of Shiloshim. Yard sites at this season are being observed for Lauren Skitten, Jack Gordon, Ann Greenspan, Olivia Koenig, Tessa Lang, Jock Lehr, Cantor William Lipson, Deborah Mayer, Rudolph Newman, Morris Plotnick, Gloria Puller, Eugene Sorowski, Kana Tolchinsky, Gustav Victor, and Mildred Wolf. If you are observing Shiva Shiloshim or a yard site, please feel free to rise and share your loved one's name. We hold all of our loved ones in our hearts. If you are with us on live stream, please feel free to put your loved ones' names in the chat. And we rise for Kaddish Yatom on page 292. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma dvarach v'yamlik malchute, v'chayachon v'yomachon v'chayei dekol beit Yisrael. Bagalav izman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omel maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitala shemei kudesha v'rechu. Le'ela ul'ela mikol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiram be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlomo Rabbah min Shemaya, V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Kuya se shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. V'imru. Amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. We conclude our service with Ein Keloheinu, page 299. Please be seated.
Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Please rise for a final Tekiah Gedola. Tekiah Gedola. Yehiratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu shetchadesh aleinu Shanah Tovah u'metuga. Our God and God of our ancestors, eternal God of all generations, may your presence in our lives this new year renew our spirits and renew our strength. May it be a good year. May it be a sweet year. Amen.
Amen.